Hi, me again. This video is all about transfers and contracts. And I don't know about you, but this has always been the most fun part of the game for me. There's nothing better than having a few quid, spending it, finding that young superstar, the wonder kid that will, you buy for 250 grand and then 3 years later you're selling him for 50 million. This to me is the fun part of the game. So hopefully this is useful to you and give you some good tips and keep watching. So hope you enjoy it. So I'm now going to look in a bit more detail about transfers and contracts. So if I want to sign a player and I want to maybe find a specific player or search, then first thing I do is go on the spine and go into the scouting. So if I want to do it this way, maybe I've had some shortlisted player, but I don't right now, so I want to go into player search. So I'm in player search. So what I can do, for the sake of this video, I'll go into somebody that I can definitely sign and just show you a bit more information. So I'll go into my search and I'll go for a young player. Obviously I've got 24 million, so I need to find somebody. Now the reason what I've done here is I'll tell you what I'll do. Right, so what I want to do here as well is I'll show you, because I want to go into Spain, and probably a lot of you already know this, but if a player is based in Spain, they tend to have release clauses. So now you tend to find that if, say, Barcelona or Real Madrid have bought a young player and he's going to be a bit of a superstar, then the release clause is 100 million or whatever it may be. So it's way over what you'd pay. But sometimes, and when I play Football Manager, I always like to do this and spend a lot of time doing this, is trying to find that player that's maybe not been found yet by Barcelona or Real Madrid, and his release clause is not too high. So if I click OK on this, so I've searched it with a young player and based in Spain. So I've got 24 million. So on the scouting screen, it'll give you an idea of kind of how much the scouts are, it's expected to cost you. So I'm just going to find somebody that's, I think, for the sake of this video, I'll be able to buy. Let's have a look here. Okay, let's have a look at this guy. So, Robert Navarro. Now it says that it's between 5 and 5.4, 6.6. So I'll click into his name. And the first thing you'd always do is just have a look at the contract info. And if you look across here, as I say, he's based in Spain. He's got a minimum release of 9,250,000. So if I go to make an offer, for the sake of this, I will make a lower one that they won't accept. Okay, so I suggest you can make the offer, but what that tends to do is you would make the offer and then they go away, think about it, and come back. But to have a kind of live discussion about it, you're going to suggest terms and they will come immediately back with what they think. So I've just gone for the straight 4 million. So suggest terms, and as I mentioned in a previous video, is they've come straight back and they've got various terms, 4.2, but then they want this, that, and the other. And also I mentioned before about the additional clauses. What tends to happen is when you're buying young players, they'll tend to come across with, oh, we want a percentage of profit, and they want a high percentage. So as I mentioned before, is what I tend to try and do is not have that. So I already offer, when I make an offer, I will offer this, maybe percentage of profit, but like a lower percent. And if you look at this now, if you don't do that at the start, they don't give you an option after that. The lowest they're going to accept is 30%. So if you really want to buy the player, then there's a possibility that you're going to have to pay quite a lot if you sell him on. So as I said before, just a little tip is if you're going to buy a player, always maybe go in there, offer percentage of profit, 5%, then you're not losing too much out the back end. However, in this case, we don't want to, we don't need to do this for a Spanish player. And if you look down here, let's have a look. Here we are. There we go. Navarro has a minimum fee release clause of 9,250. So if I cancel this, I'm not sure if it lets me just go back in and just start afresh. So let's have a go. Make an offer. Right. So if I now go 9,250, if you look here, the little green thing, it just basically says the fee matches or exceeds the clause fee. So, obviously maybe this, I wouldn't buy this player for, 9 million, but sometimes, if you think, yeah, this player's a superstar or he's going to be, then it's useful to do it. So now if I click suggest, and there's no other clauses, I don't need it because I've already met the release. I click on there, and there we go. They basically come back and say, we feel the offer is acceptable. Well, they say that now, but I think they're just doing it with gritted teeth because they don't really want to do it, but unfortunately I've met the release clause. So they agree with that, and then all I do on here is just basically finalize the offer, and there we go. So they've accepted it. Simple as that. And then what's going to happen is hopefully in the next kind of day, 2 days, 3 days, they'll come back and we'll start having discussions with the player with the contracts, which I'll go into in the next few seconds, hopefully. Right, here we are. So yeah, he's quite keen because later in the same morning he's come straight back and wants to discuss the contract. So as you see here, I can decide against it. No, I'm not interested, or hand it over to Michael Edwards to do it, or you're generally going to want to do this. I mean, contracts, transfers, etc. It's one of the most fun parts of the game. So start negotiations. And just one other thing I must mention is that one of the frustrating parts of the game is, and I guess it's a realistic part of the game, as many things are, is that you will often have enough money and you'll go to buy a player and the team will accept it. And you're really excited because you think you've found a superstar. And then he'll come straight back and say, I'm not interested. And there's no discussion, he's just not interested. And then you'll find him, 2 days later signing for one of your rivals, and it's frustrating. But again, like real life, that happens. If you're I don't know, Leighton Orient, and you're going to find this young superstar and you've got the cash, well, he's not going to go for you. He's going to wait for a bigger club. But and that's the way it goes, unfortunately. So when you're on here and he's looking at negotiating with you, so you've got this here, which he's looking at kind of a lot of players, and this is the modern part of Football Manager, is that they're asked after certain promises of like he's saying obviously he wants to be loaned out because he expects that he's not going to be in the first team. Here, if I disagree with that, I can delete that. If I want to, with some players, if it's a bigger player, they want to know that you're aiming to win the Premier League, I can go, add promise. My aims are this, or I'll make you a captain, or long-term aims. Maybe I'm going to challenge for a cup. I'm going to win the Premier League, etc. So sometimes they will ask for certain promises. Sometimes you will offer them. So it looks like he's a youngster. I could sign him anytime I want. So Actually, it looks down here. The scouting team kind of tell you what they think, and look at that. They say it'd be a very good signing. So, and he's going to be a decent player. So he just wants to be loaned out straight away. Straight away, he's happy with being a youngster. Sometimes they want some of this. They want to be a regular start. They want to be a star player, and it's up to you. You can negotiate, but sometimes they're not backing down. Sometimes they're willing to just be flexible. Okay, so he's just happy to be a young player. So we'll finalise these promises and then just negotiate contract because he's obviously happy with that. He chose that and he's happy with that. So negotiate contract. Oh, this is just a bit of the game helping me out at the first, which you probably have a good idea for you to have a look at this. So we get onto the contract screen, and obviously full time, and we've got the wages. Now, various things here, and every time you do a contract, they're going to be wanting different things. When you get to signing bigger, certainly if you're sometimes signing bigger players, they're going to be wanting things like clauses. Like look at the clauses here. You can minimum release clause. Sometimes they will ask for a minimum release clause that you think is completely unrealistic, but it's a hard bargain with stuff like that. Older players will ask for extensions. Maybe they're 33-year-olds, and if they play 20 games, they want, and you could offer that as well. So there's all these things that they might offer, you might offer. What I tend to do with young players as well, though, is I always like to give myself this option, is that the optional contract extension by club, which means if I give them a 3-year contract, it's essentially a 4-year contract. Then if after 3 years I don't want to sell them, I want to release them or sell them after 2 years, then I don't have to use it. But if they're a superstar, it just gives you that extra year, and I tend to use that a lot with young players. So this guy is pretty straightforward. He's wanting a 4-year contract, obviously appearance fees, nothing crazy. Now, if I wanted to negotiate, so for example, things like this, I'll go quite a bit lower just so he's not going to be happy with it. Just show you the negotiation. So if I then look at that and I think, bear in mind when it goes red, you have to change it. Sometimes they will ask for something and it's red and you're bored, don't accept it, and you've got nowhere to go and you just can't sign the player. But if I do this, then it's now allowing me, there's no red, it's allowing me to suggest terms. So if I did that, they will then come back and say, well, no, we want that. And there will be negotiations because it's gone down now. Maybe I go down to 14, 13, even 13 and a half. Maybe I do this. And then he's happy with that. So there's a lot of negotiating going on, but always be aware of if they're asking for things like minimum release clauses and things like that, because you might have to delete them. As I said before, you can you'll get used to it. You know your game and just be aware of things like that. But obviously this guy was happy with that. We finalised the deal. And then we exit, and there we go. So it looks like I'm going to sign that player. And here we are, 3 days later? So obviously he accepted, but then, well, we've got Brexit, so now we have to consider work permits for European players. So this is now saying that, well, decisions are likely to be made by Wednesday the 14th, which is 5 days. Obviously, and I've agreed it, and well, I have to pay for the work permit. £20,000 for a work permit application seems a bit excessive, but hey ho. So yeah, so we have to wait till the 14th of July now to to wait for a work permit and see what happens there. And here we are a few days later, and there we go. So as you see there, his application has been accepted. So it does have the work permit, maybe my 20,000 and maybe a few more quid as a backhander. Got that sorted out. So he's got the application accepted, and if I look at the next thing in my inbox, it's basically confirming that, yeah, he's delighted to have agreed terms, wants to work with us, so on and so forth. It was 9.25 million. And if you just look at here at the bottom, you're always going to have the option. Sometimes if you're signing youth players and you've got a youth development manager, be very wary, because they can sign young players that you're not really aware of, or that they're just doing their own thing, and you've got no say in it. But I think when you're buying players for first team and a few quid, then yeah, you're going to get the final answers and the final decision. So at the bottom here, as you see, I could just cancel it, I can accept it, or even delay it. I mean, if, say, for example, I think it tends to go for a week. So if, for example, I want to buy a player, but then I want to, once I delay, he's my player, I can just accept it in a week. But if I then want to sell a player on, and it all depends on if I buy him, if I'm selling the other player, maybe you just want to delay it. Responsibilities, yeah, it's just how to delegate transfers in the future. So yeah, so simple as that, really. So hey, why not? Let's. It's just a tutorial, so hey, let's accept him. So that's that, really. So that is just transfers and contracts for new players. I'll just have a quick look at. Let's have a right. If I was going to offer a contract for one of my players, for example. Bear in mind, you'll often get your staff will send you a note saying, "Oh, please, you better give this player a new contract. He's going to be a young superstar, but yet his contract's due in about 3 years." So you'll get things like that, and sometimes you'll just ignore it because you've got plenty of time. So, for example, if I wanted to Firmino, a couple of years, if I wanted to offer Firmino a new contract, so we're going to his contract. Offer new contract. So looking at this, as you can see there, he's after regular starter, contract start date. Yeah, that's fine. It's straight away. Yeah, we're happy with that. Straightforward. Again, as I mentioned before, sometimes certainly new players, especially if the bigger players, will ask for a lot more promises. Certainly if you're at a lower club, maybe they want to know that you're going to avoid relegation, or you're going to be going for promotion in the next year, things like that. Finalize that. He's happy to negotiate. And then, just to give you an idea, obviously this wouldn't happen, but if I wanted to offer Firmino ridiculous amount, I go 7k. Oh God, no, he's not happy with that. He wants 200. And if you see there, he's basically not shifting from that. He's saying, right, I want 210k. I can't change it now. That's what he wants, and his agent wants that. So maybe I do this. I'm going to give him 12 months. Oh, he's not happy with that. Right, let's have a look. 12 months. Right, and if you look over here, it's saying, I asked you to make an acceptable offer for my client, and you failed to do so. Therefore, I'm ending talks on my client's behalf. So what tends to happen is you'll get that, where if they're due for a contract pretty soon, well, you've got a big problem because they're not going to sign for you. Maybe they've got plenty of time and things change, and then in the future they say, "Oh, I'm happy again," and you can offer contracts. So be very wary that you only have so many chances to offer unrealistic things to players, and if you do that, they may decide not to sign. So unfortunately, all we can do here is exit talks. So that's it, really. I mean, obviously, offering contracts is, common sense stands to reason. What we all know, what we kind of should do, but it's there's all the clauses, etc. That yeah, you'll find at your own pace. So hopefully that's been useful as ever.
So that was transfers, contracts. I hope you found it useful. Sorry if I've, in any of these tutorials, sorry if I've missed anything, but as you may have found out by now, it's a heavy game. There's a lot to go into, and I'm certainly I'd like to think I'm a reasonable expert, but there's bits of the game that I've not even touched. It's a huge game. So, but hopefully, some of these videos have helped you out a little bit. And that's it, really. So as I said before, going forward, I'm going to be looking at making some more videos, maybe having some games, having a career, and hopefully you can join me on the journey, and fingers crossed it's a successful one. So again, good luck with your own games and your own journeys, and hopefully don't let it take over your life, but it's a fun game. So hopefully you can keep following me and watch my future videos. So take care.